Aloha and welcome to A Course in Miracles Deep Dive with Hope Johnson. Today we're going into Chapter 3, Section 3, starting at paragraph 8, the beginning of paragraph 8. That's in A Course in Miracles, complete and annotated edition. It's a purplish book that came out in 2021. And we're on page one. Is that right? Wait a minute. 113. That's where we are. Starting on page 113. Oh, I love you guys. Thank you. Okay. Let's start by tuning in. Just notice your breath without trying to control it, and notice the subtle energies, the subtle body, you could say. Just allowing yourself to feel that puts the vertical axis, puts you in alignment with the vertical axis that feeds you. Let's begin with gratitude. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who joins. Thank you for your open hearts. Thank you for your willingness, your devotion, your desire for peace. Thank you, God, for giving that to us. The desire for peace, the desire for home. Thank you, Jesus, for showing us that all of those desires in the world are just reflections of the same one. Thank you, Jesus, for showing us the way through A Course in Miracles and through our lives and our relationship with you. May we have a wonderful, profound, awakening deep dive today. Thank you, everyone. All right, let's go. We're just going to get going today without a summary of the chapter. This is going to be pretty rich and it's full. So I'll give you a summary again next time. Yay! Let's just get started with Chapter 3, Section 3, Paragraph 8, Sentence 1. And here's the text. The resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. The resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. So demonstrated, that means it's not taught, it's actually shown. See, Jesus is really specific in using this word. He doesn't say the resurrection symbolized that nothing can destroy truth or that it represented that in some way. He's saying it demonstrated. So this is not a story to interpret. It's an actual showing of a principle. Right? And what is that principle? Nothing can destroy truth. See? And that's the whole basically the whole teaching. Nothing can destroy the truth. That's what we all get anxious about, fearful about. Seems like something can destroy the truth, right? Someone's telling you what a terrible person you are and stuff like that. And any attachments to your self-image is going to make you reactive because there's a part of you that believes that something has been destroyed and they're really pointing to something that's true instead of recognizing that as a call for love. See? So the way the ego interprets the crucifixion, it's as if it seems to say that truth can be attacked. Look, the ego's like, killed him. It's a symbol of the ego to perceive that love can be destroyed, that the truth can be overpowered, and that if the Son of God can be harmed, then so can everyone else. That's the story. See, the resurrection demonstrates that the ego's version isn't true. It answers it completely. It's like, no, what's true actually remains untouched. So, the sentence again, the resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. Nothing. No exception. So that's an absolute no form, no event, no war, no attack, no divorce, no disease, nothing, nothing that you can experience here, no exceptions, nothing can destroy truth. And that's your identity. So whatever appears to destroy is not acting on truth. So look for this also within yourself, okay? Look for this. So if nothing can destroy truth, then anything that appears to destroy is not acting on truth. So even if someone's telling you something that appears to destroy your self-image, they are not acting on truth. Even if they seem to be pointing out something that's a terrible flaw about you, they do not act on truth. Okay? And the same goes for you. When you're trying to point out something that someone is doing wrong, getting it wrong, anything like that, and it appears to destroy, you are not acting on truth. There's nothing to take down, there's nothing to destroy. It's demonstrating. And that's what the resurrection is meant to be repeated over and over and over again. We're demonstrating over and over and over again what the truth is and how it cannot be destroyed. We're demonstrating that to our own mind, not necessarily to anyone else, but that doesn't mean other people might not notice, right? So it's not for someone else. You can say it's for all of us because there's only one of us. So we're allowing our own mind to rest in the peace that always is in the midst of any kind of illusions that seem like they can destroy the truth. And anytime you ever get defensive, that is that thought that the truth can be destroyed. Anytime you're defensive, anytime you're offensive, like this person would be much more right if they knew this thing, for instance, right? So it's kind of like what I notice in my experience, it's kind of like uh, a careful treading in a situation where I often see patterns that people are playing, and I'll just let them know, hey, you don't have to do that anymore, but you would have to completely reframe everything in order to not do it anymore. Would you be interested in that? And then if they say no, it's like, okay, and you just completely certain, this is a big one for relating with people too, is being certain that they are being perfectly guided and do not need you to tell them anything. And when you're being like that, you're going to recognize when someone's coming to you with that kind of energy, like you're doing something wrong. One example, I had my mom tell me that I'm doing a lot of good, but I'm also leading people astray because, in her words, you don't believe Jesus died for our sins, you know? And I just go, I just found myself going, okay, mom, that's awesome. And then we kept on having a conversation. And some things ended up being shared that were shared in a way where she didn't feel like she was being destroyed, like her belief is being destroyed, because I could feel within my own energy field that she's being perfectly guided just as I am. And when we believe that someone is destroying themselves in any way, look at this too. Another way, not only spiritually, that it looks like people might be destroying themselves, but also in the sense that their habits, the food they eat, the things they engage in, maybe not sleeping, staying up late, whatever, you're believing that they can destroy themselves is really getting internalized, and then that makes it that way for you. So then you feel vulnerable to the world, vulnerable to the systems and the programs and the government and the food and the medicine and all the stuff that seems to be a controlling system. And that's not just systems. When I say system, I'm not talking like just systems of government or any kind of conspiracy or anything like that. I'm talking about systems of the ego, and that goes to our own minds, like how we're programmed to perceive. Yeah, isn't that fun? So nothing can destroy the truth, and the resurrection demonstrated that. So this isn't just about Jesus getting resurrected. It's about what you are, right? It's like if truth cannot be destroyed, then you cannot be harmed. You cannot be diminished, right? You're not altered by anything in the world. Being on a public forum, and especially since I seem to sometimes, once in a while, post things that are triggering to some people, I get reflections from people where they're telling me, you're a dime a dozen, you're nothing, you're this, you're this, you're this. And it's like, I can just see what that is and reflect back peace, you know. And sometimes they actually change their mind. And other times they don't change their mind. They stick with it. They stick with their interpretation that they want to have, and they're staying with it. That, to the ego would interpret that as failure, like you have some more self-improvement to do. Either that or the ego will frame it as something is wrong with them. It's neither way. It's just these energies playing out so that everyone can see what they need to see. It's also blessed. So this one point matters for everything. Because if you accept this one point, that the resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth, right? If you accept that, then guilt has no effects. It really has no effects. It has no real effects, but it has no effects in your mind. See? So it's like sin cannot have actually occurred. It's so whatever you perceive becomes not a challenge, but an opportunity. All of it is equal opportunity, whether it seems to come as love or call for love, equal opportunity. Loss can't be real, so you don't need to be afraid of losing anyone, or anything, or your body, or anything at all, right? One of the hooks I noticed one man was trying to get me on was that, like, if I don't, um, I'm not even sure what it is that he wanted me to do because he was speaking gibberish to me because it was coming from it was coming from an angry place, apparently. Um, but that he wasn't gonna like me. He wasn't gonna follow me. He wasn't gonna do this stuff unless I complied. And, I just go, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. And then I just blocked him. Apparently, I mean, it's like you're just getting information. No one's doing anything. You're just getting information. And you don't have to keep anyone in your field. You could look at your field kind of like a canvas. You don't have to keep anyone in your field who's not painting on your canvas in a way that's enjoyable for you, right? Got to say, I enjoyed the play while it was there. It was just not something to keep. All right. So you could look at it like this. What if this thing that seems to have happened really doesn't have any effect? Not as a concept. What if it really doesn't have any effect? Because it seems to destroy what's true. Anything that just seems to destroy or threaten what's true must not have any real effect. Let's see if you could hold that just as a possibility, just lightly, gently. What if this thing that seemed to happen really has no effect? And let yourself feel that. No effect. See, the only effect that illusions can make is guilt, and that's not real either. So, isn't that fun? Yeah. All right, let's see. You guys are doing good. I don't see any questions yet. Let me know. I'm looking at you. I see you guys on Zoom too. I love you. All right. Let's go on to sentence 2. Chapter 3, section 3, paragraph 8, sentence 2. Good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. Once again, good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. Good can withstand. So that word withstand, it's not to resist or fight. Notice this phrasing. He's not saying good fights evil. He's not saying good overcomes evil by efforting, right? He's not saying good is stronger in a battle. He says good can withstand. So he's saying it's unaffected. It's not changed by it. Good isn't changed by evil. It's not touched. It's not like the truth is struggling to survive against evil. It's just simple. It can't be altered. And Jesus is saying any kind of evil, good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. What a blessing that is, huh? So any form of ego or any form of evil, same thing. So the ego believes in degrees of evil, basically degrees of itself. Little mistakes, big sins, minor harms, serious ones. That's why it's saying any form. So no matter how something appears, it has no power to affect what's true. And that's just the way I see it. No power to affect what's true, whatever it is that occurs. And if my mind seems to need healing, which occurs whenever there's not a sense of present peace right now. And you know how I can tell too is, can I feel my subtle body? That's one way to know. Can I feel my subtle body? Okay, come back to what's true. Because whenever there's a threat, the feeling in the subtle body, there's a perceived threat, the feeling in the subtle body is shut off. So you can pay attention to other things. And what I notice too, it's like worldly thoughts, just general thoughts that seem like harmless thoughts about the world. I'll turn my attention to the body's energy field and I'll recognize contraction. And I'll go, wow, there's really not any need for any of this. There's not really any need for any of this thinking about the world. All thinking that's going out on the horizontal plane is from the past. There's no need for it. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. That's not what I'm doing here. It's just recognizing there's actually no need for it. When you recognize there's no need for it, it's just play. There's really no need for it. It's not helping anything. It's not doing anything. So let's go back to the sentence. Good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. So that because is he's giving the reason. This isn't reassurance. This isn't some spiritual reassurance. This is a principle. This is a principle that he's giving here. Light abolishes all forms of darkness. It doesn't fight again. Okay, that's very clear. Light does not do battle, does not push against or gradually reduce. It doesn't even gradually reduce it. Look at the word abolish. Abolishes, meaning darkness doesn't even have an independent existence. It's not something real that the light overcomes. It is actually absence of light. That's what darkness is. It's absence of light. See? Now this really goes against, and this may be one of those posts, if I do a post about this, that would get people super triggered, right? Look at the yin yang symbol. Light and dark, they coexist, apparently, in the New Age spirituality, right? We're supposed to what? Integrate the darkness or something like that. And it's like, what if it's absence of light? What is there to mess around with? What is there to even mess around with? So look at what happens when light is present. What happens to the darkness? Does it get weak? Does it slowly retreat? Right? Is there a negotiation? Look at when you turn a light on in a dark room. Does any of that stuff happen? No, it's just gone. It was just never something. It was never anything. In our last deep dive, we went over God is fact. So there's no other fact. There's just nothing there. So if light abolishes darkness, then good, which he's using good here as a word for truth. Truth doesn't contend with evil, untruth. Truth doesn't contend with untruth. How can they reconcile? It just reveals that evil, untruth, has no real existence. It reveals that evil actually can't act on good. and that darkness can't actually have an effect on light. It can only seem to. See, that's the seeming thing. In the perception, darkness seems to have an effect on light. And that's really what the crucifixion teaches according to the ego, that darkness does have an effect on light. So it seems like darkness needs to be fought. So instead of I need to fix the world or overcome it or anything like that, what this is inviting is what I'm seeing has no real power. It really doesn't have a source. My mind is one with source. So whatever I see, I think I see, that doesn't reflect love, perfect love, that has no real power. I'm not accepting that it has power. Now, how's another way that you might accept that illusions have power? Watch when you're telling a story. Are you telling a story as if someone is bothering you, or they're a victim of yours, or you're a victim of them, or anything like that? That's basically demonstrating to your mind that darkness can act on light. And all you got to do, there's no shame in any of this. All you got to do is notice behind the scenes. You don't even have to change what you're saying. You can't, anyways. Just behind the scene, just notice, ah, this is where I'm believing that darkness can act on light. This is where I'm believing that good cannot withstand evil. See? So just like in the last sentence, I was talking about how evil has no effects. Nothing can destroy the truth, right? The first sentence was nothing can destroy the truth. That's what the resurrection demonstrated, right? So whatever's untruth, whatever's not true has no real effects. But it's up to you to claim that. And here he's saying that it just has no actual power to affect what's true. Good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. This does not mean someone's going to immediately reflect to you that they're healed of their darkness. They may still be accusing you. It's just that you recognize that as a gift that you don't have to accept, and you choose not to accept dark gifts. See? Anything that comes from this sense of destroying truth is not true. So we are up to sentence 3, unless anyone has any questions right now. Oh, let's see. Can we use other metaphors? Let me see. What are you talking about, know me, baby? Do you want to come on and talk to me, or would you rather chat? Because you can come on and talk to me. You don't have to go on camera, but I can hear your voice. And you can go on camera if you want to. So let me know, because I'm not sure what you're referring to there. No real power. Okay, cool. All right. I am allowing you to
Oh,
talk. Oh, whoops, I muted you. I'm asking you to unmute again. I was trying to ask you to unmute, and then you were
all
unmuted.
right. Awesome. This is
Oh, you're
fun.
here. Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. So what are you looking for other metaphors about?
Well, I feel like the dark and light metaphor is like just not how my mind works.
Uh-huh.
For different reasons. One is I just feel like dark is feminine energy. I think it's like ground, underground, soil energy. I
Okay.
just don't, night sky energy.
Uh-huh.
I have positive associations with it, like, or, I don't have
Hmm.
any like unpleasant or anything going on with it. So whenever like it's put in that kind of dichotomy or whatever,
Yeah.
dualistic like pair, my
Yes.
mind is just always like, I don't know why we're doing this.
Okay. Okay, then just change it in your mind. When you hear darkness, when you hear dark, think of unpleasant feeling.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
whenever you're having an unpleasant feeling, you're not seeing it in the light of truth. So the way darkness is being referred to here is untruth.
Yeah.
So untruth,
Okay.
untruth, first manifestation is an upset feeling, and that's what we're referring to as darkness here.
Okay. And do you feel like it's just the best thing for us to do is do that translation in our mind? Or do you feel like it's helpful to evolve the text?
Well, all of it's helpful. Right now,
All
what I'm
right.
doing is in a Course in Miracles deep dive, and I'm using the text.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
but
Fair
it's
enough.
all helpful. It's all totally
Cool.
helpful. Uh-huh. And yeah, and I might frame it a different way when I'm talking about stuff.
Right,
That's
right.
why I'm also doing a deep dive into the text so we can get clear on what Jesus is actually talking about and not think of it as the feminine energy and all that kind of stuff that he's, all of the stuff that we think
Right.
is
All
positive.
right.
You see?
All right.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it doesn't get taken as dualistic because it's certainly not dualistic, but it's
Got
really
it.
easy for the mind to construe it as if it is.
Cool. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. I
Love
really appreciate
you.
that question because there
Aw.
may be others who are thinking the same thing. Yeah.
All right. Right on. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. Just let me know when you want to talk. You can also raise your hand to do that, or you could just write it in the chat because raising your hand might not be a thing you want to do. Ah, I love you. Thank you. Okay, so we go. Yeah, anytime you guys have questions or, you want something clarified, just let me know. So let's go to sentence three. Yay. Ah. Chapter three, section three, paragraph eight, sentence three. The atonement is thus the perfect lesson. The atonement is thus the perfect lesson. And there's a footnote here. I'm going to read the footnote. Quote, the atonement, end quote, here refers to the resurrection, as it probably also does in paragraph 4, sentence 6 above, where it says, the holy, benign lesson which the atonement teaches. So let's deep dive. So the footnote clarifies the meaning for us right away. The atonement specifically refers to the resurrection. Okay, so when he's saying the atonement, and really the atonement is just the resurrection over and over and over again. That's what I see. It's the resurrection. It's like awakening to this resurrection energy, you might say, or the resurrection principle. I feel that even stronger. The resurrection principle, right? So this is where Jesus is saying the atonement is thus the perfect lesson. So he's basically the resurrection is the perfect lesson because it demonstrates, without explaining anything, that truth can't be destroyed. Right? This doesn't need explanation. This is when you look at the resurrection, this is what it's just automatically saying. Truth is not going to be destroyed. The body must not define our reality, right? If you look at the resurrection. And wow, if Jesus demonstrated that attack has no real effect, then so can I. Because our life is not in form. So the resurrection is not symbolic, it's living proof. It's everything Jesus taught. The resurrection is a living proof of that. So, linking back to the previous sentence, light abolishes all forms of darkness. Okay. And darkness is basically anything that we don't want, really. The resurrection shows that light abolishes all forms of darkness. Death is probably, well, maybe not probably, the most um, believed in form of what Jesus is calling darkness. Okay, factually, the resurrection shows that that is nonsense. What seemed like total darkness, death, right, has no effect on what's true. It really just doesn't have any effect. So that short and sweet sentence, one more time, the atonement is thus the perfect lesson. Why is the atonement the perfect lesson? Because it's demonstrating that what seems to be true has no reality in God. And therefore, it can have no real effects. The effects that we perceive are effects of believing that evil, untruth, aka darkness, as it is here, has no effects, has no real effects. If I perceive the effects, that's still perception. I can still choose to deny that those effects are one bit real. Not that I don't apparently have to deal with them in the world, but I don't have to figure that out. All I have to do is see it clearly. I don't have to figure anything out. Because this isn't a theory. He's talking about the atonement is the perfect lesson. So your willingness and your devotion and your recognizing in the moment when thoughts are going out about the world and you can't sense your subtle energy body anymore, that what you think you see is not really there. It doesn't have any real effects. It doesn't. Yeah. I bet this is going to happen. I bet this is going to happen. I bet this is going to happen. It's like, no, nothing has any real effects. Mm. Oh, got my screen back. Okay. All right, let's move on to sentence 4 then. Here's the text. It is the final demonstration that all of the other lessons which I taught are true. It being the resurrection. Yes? The atonement is thus the perfect lesson. It is the final demonstration that all of the other lessons which I taught are true. So, yes, the atonement, he's referring to the resurrection. That's why he's saying it is the final demonstration that all the other lessons I taught are true. So the atonement and the resurrection are basically the same thing. The atonement is repeating the lesson of the resurrection over and over and over again in all these seemingly separate minds. Isn't that so fun? It is the final demonstration that all of the other lessons which I taught are true. So, final demonstration, that means nothing beyond this. The resurrection is final, the atonement is final. There's not one more teaching. This is completion. It's not adding something, it's just confirming everything that he taught. This is the demonstration. So it's demonstrating that all of the other lessons are true, right? That's a sweeping statement. That's all of Jesus's lessons. And they culminate in this one demonstration that death had no real effect. So every teaching he gave about fear, guilt, attack, forgiveness, the nature of the mind, the unreality of separation, love is all there is. It's proven by the resurrection. And he's calling the resurrection atonement here because we actually do the resurrection over and over again. That's what the atonement is. Demonstrating to your mind that death has no power, that God's will for your perfect happiness still functions, even when you're perceiving illusions. So the resurrection proves everything because it's saying nothing can destroy the truth. So what follows is that attack has no real effect. What follows is that guilt cannot alter what you are. A sense of a guilty feeling within yourself, someone else projecting guilt onto you. Death is not real, so guilt is not real. So separation didn't happen. So you could just say, thank you for letting me know. In my case, sometimes I like to give him chances. I'm like, really? You want to leave my circle of friends? Are you sure? And then they show me whether they're sure or not. And then I go, okay. uh, so it's like there's no, when I feel within myself, there's no reason for me to take a hard edge with people when they're projecting. There's no reason for me to really take a hard edge. It's just like, what do I like? You know? It's like, hey, I like to relate in this way. If you're willing to be different with me, we can be over here. We can do this over here. But if not, that's cool. And that's really a way of seeing. It's like if you're willing to see the light in me and not your shadowy figures that you're projecting, then we can hang out. But if you're going to keep your shadowy figures, there's nothing I can do about that. That just doesn't resonate. See? You don't have to take a hard edge. I'm putting up my boundaries. It's just automatic. If you know God's will for you is perfect happiness, it's like you don't have to entertain anything that's not that. No need. So this isn't about belief again. This sentence, the atonement is thus the perfect lesson. That was last sentence. This one is, the atonement is the final demonstration that all of the other lessons which I taught are true. And that's Jesus talking. What Jesus taught are true. So a subtle shift in the way you might relate to the teaching, instead of I'm trying to understand each idea completely, there's just one demonstration. You don't have to, there's nothing else to learn. Really, there's one demonstration, verifies all the teachings. I'm real. Nothing real can be touched with any of this bullshit. So it's not like you're collecting insights as you're looking this way, as you're coming to these deep dives, whatever it is that you seem to be doing on your spiritual path. You're coming to recognize a single unified truth. And the single unified truth is that you are real. I mean, you can't really say it, you have to know it, but I can point to it. You are real, and whatever you perceive in the world is unreal and does not affect you. To the extent you believe it affects you, it seems to affect you. Whatever seems to be affecting you now is an expression of past thoughts. In the now moment, you can make a choice to see it that way. And then that changes things. So you can frame it like this. It's like, what if there's the resurrection is just one realization that confirms everything I've been learning this whole spiritual path? Not piece by piece, just all at once, just one realization. Oh, shit. I've never been affected. I've never been affected by this. I believed that I was, and I made effects seem true, but I've never really been affected by it. And I can change the way I'm seeing it right now. Anyone have any questions, you sweeties, about any of this? Right then, we will go on to, I don't see any hands or questions. You guys aren't in the Q&A, are you? Because sometimes that, oh yeah, you are. Oh my goodness. Oh, that's Nomi. Maybe we already talked about this. Yes, okay. Yeah, sometimes I don't see those Q&As. So thank you for getting over here in the chat because they don't stay up with a little red ball. Like I have to move the mouse on the screen to see it. So yeah, thank you for doing that. All right. We're going on to sentence 5. You are released from all errors if you believe in this. You are released from all errors if you believe in this. So you are released. This is in an instant. This is the now moment. This is not gradually. Yes, gradually your conditioning is released. Your unconscious conditioning is released. But right now, you're released. This is immediate. You are released from all errors if you believe this. What is the this? Let's see what he's talking about. What is this? It's that the atonement is the final demonstration that all the other lessons he taught are true. And he's saying, you are released from all errors if you believe in this. So, not you're beginning to be released. Not you have to work through errors over time to reduce them. You are released. It's an instant of release. That's the holy instant, what's called the holy instant. That's the miracle. So the release is not a process in time. And here's how I've experienced it too. There will be a release, I'll be released, and then I'll re-believe something and then need to be released again, apparently. That's why it's called the resurrection is being called the atonement, so it can be repeated in time. But in the present moment, you're released from errors when you, what as Jesus put it, believe in this. From all errors. That's no exceptions. That's not some are small, some are large. It's all errors. There's no error that that wouldn't just completely resolve as soon as the light comes in. Remember, that's why he gave the metaphor darkness, because this is the way it works. And error is sitting there, and the truth just completely resolves it. Every error has the same root. It's the belief that the truth can be destroyed or altered. And we all carry an unconscious belief that we have been altered and that we have destroyed the truth. That's our identity. So when that belief gets undone, it feels, you can sense it in your body's energy field. It's like, wow, I'm released. So if you believe in this, so what is this? This, the final demonstration, the resurrection, that nothing can destroy the truth. If you believe in this, that nothing can destroy the truth, if you accept, another way to put it is if you accept that the truth is unchanged. And, the reason why I position it as, this isn't just a belief that you go trying to put on other people, right? Believe in this is your acceptance that the truth is unchanged. Every error that depends on truth is changed. It's like it's like you give the truth to errors by making them real. And when you bring them to the actual truth, it takes away the truth you gave to the errors, and they completely lose foundation in your mind. Errors are those that try to destroy the truth. Those thoughts. I'm not talking about people, I'm talking about thoughts, those thoughts. So, what he's talking about with believe here, believe in it, it's not like an intellectual argument. You're not doing the way the ego always frames things is okay, now I have this belief, I'm going to defend it, right? It's not about repeating an idea. It's not about getting other people to see your way. It's real acceptance, a willingness to let this be completely true for you, to let it apply to everything that arises, right? The truth cannot be threatened. The truth cannot be harmed. Nothing can destroy the truth. And there can't be any exceptions. Jesus said that too. There can't be any exceptions. If there's an exception in your mind, that's an exception uh, that's gonna hide, veil the light of truth from you. You can't have exceptions, right? No exceptions. Nothing can destroy the truth. Light abolishes all forms of darkness. Every error says in some form that something real has gone wrong. And Jesus is saying, you are released from all errors if you believe in this. If nothing can destroy the truth, then nothing can actually go wrong. So that means that guilt, fear, loss, they have no basis. Fear is not justified. Loss is not real. And without that foundation, that ego foundation, believing that these things are real, errors can't even stand. So the ego wants like case by case correction, like pointing out each other's shadows and trying to correct it that way, gradual healing, specific problem solving, right? A lot of the times people come to me with their problems thinking I'm going to specifically problem solve with them. And, I just let them know what patterns I see that are taken as real. And that's it. You stop taking that pattern of thought as real, problem solved. Whether they want to do that, that's a different thing. And this is saying an acceptance of one thing undoes everything. So that takes all the clutter, all the things that you seem to have to piece together. It's like one thing, acceptance of this one thing undoes everything. So you don't need to carry any conclusion based on a belief that something had an effect. You do not need to carry that conclusion. That's the release. It's a very empowered, powered with the spirit, not this self improvement empowered. It's a very empowered place to be. Very empowered way of looking and perceiving. All right, lovelies. let's go on to Chapter 3, Section 3, Paragraph 8, Sentence 6. Such a rich paragraph so far. I'm just going to read up to sentence 5, so we have that before I start with 6. 6 is a huge sentence. Starting with sentence 1 of paragraph 8. The resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. Good can withstand any form of evil because light abolishes all forms of darkness. The atonement is thus the perfect lesson. It is the final demonstration that all of the other lessons which I taught are true. You are released from all errors if you believe that, if you believe in this. I just want to say, uh, being released from all errors is in the moment, kind of like, I guess you would call it a sense of ascension because you just feel like you're not bound by any of this. You're released from all of everything that would keep you feeling bound. You see, you notice that it is just nothing. It's nothing. Whatever is set up to destroy the truth does not exist. So let's go on to sentence 6 now, unless any questions propped up for you guys. Oh, you look good. Okay, sentence 6. The deductive approach to teaching accepts the generalization which is applicable to all single instances rather than building up the generalization after analyzing numerous single instances separately. Okay, so this is a great sentence. It's rich. So we're going to start with the footnote because he's using something here that not everyone knows about. Deductive reasoning. So the deductive approach to teaching is how he starts the sentence, okay? So the footnote says deductive reasoning starts with general truths and then applies them to specific instances. An example is the famous syllogism. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The famous syllogism, all men are mortal. So there's a general truth. Quote, all men are mortal. Socrates is a man. That's a specific instance to which the general truth can be applied. Okay, so this is deductive reasoning that's being explained here. I'm going to explain it again so you can follow. Deductive reasoning, here's an example. The thought all men are mortal, that's the general truth. Socrates is a man, a specific instance to which the general truth can be applied. So that's deductive reasoning. So now, therefore, Socrates is mortal. That's an application of the general truth that all men are mortal to the specific instance that Socrates is a man. So inductive reasoning, in contrast, involves the reverse, building up the generalization after analyzing numerous single instances separately. So do you see what's going on there? What he's saying? So deductive reasoning, it's like you take the generalization first and apply it to the specific instances. The opposite way around, the other way of reasoning is where you take all the specific instances and apply it to the generalization. See that? It's like you take all the specific instances over time and you take that and you form a generalization. What Jesus is talking about here is taking this generalization and applying it to all the specific instances. So that's the opposite. So let's go back to the sentence. Let me just see if you guys have any questions on that so far, because maybe, I don't know, maybe it might be a little bit intellectual. Okay. The deductive approach, which we just went over to teaching, accepts the generalization which is applied to single instances, rather than building up the generalization after analyzing numerous single instances. So anyone who, if you think that's not clear or anything, just raise your hand. I'll be happy to take any of your questions. Yay. But we will get deeper into this sentence for sure. So Jesus is now explaining how this teaching works. After saying, you're released from all errors if you believe in this. Now he's explaining this method, deductive, not inductive reasoning. Okay, so here's what deductive means. It means you start with the general truth. Nothing can destroy the truth. You remain as God created you. That's the general truth. And then apply that to everything. Okay? Not the other way around. Not let me analyze the situation and this one and this one and this one. Given what is true, what must be true here? That's how you apply deductive reasoning. And why does this matter for us? Because most people try to heal through inductive reasoning. That's where we look at each problem, understand it, process it, and gradually come to conclusions that we can use in a generalized sense. Jesus is saying that is backwards. You have the conclusion. The resurrection is the conclusion. The atonement is the conclusion. You already have it. So this one generalization from the text accepts the generalization which is applicable to all single instances. So this generalization is essentially truth is true and can't be altered. That's the generalization that you apply to everything specific. See what he's saying? So when something seems to happen, any conflict, any loss, any fear, any betrayal, anything, you don't have to analyze the form. You just accept what's true. If the truth can't be changed, then whatever this is cannot have changed anything that's real. Whatever changes appear on the surface, this is where you start looking at them. This is a given. Every change, everything. This is a given. This is an opportunity. Hooray. So the ego resists this way of using deductive reasoning, the way Jesus is talking about, because it ends the ego's entire system, which thrives on complexity, right? Case by case analysis. How's the reasoning of the world done? Inductive. It's like you take all these specific instances and then you come to a generalization. Jesus is saying, let the generalization that the truth is true and nothing else is true be the foundation. Let that be the foundation that you apply to all specific instances. The ego wants endless processing. Things are just boop, gone when you apply this generalization to them. One correction applied everywhere. This is the reason why the atonement is the perfect lesson. It gives you the general truth, generalized truth. So you don't need 1,000 smaller lessons. You don't need a lifetime of sorting through illusions. You can enjoy. You apply one truth to all experiences, all appearances, and just enjoy. Right? Anything that seems like you can't enjoy, you got it wrong. You're enjoying it. It's like you get to the point, and when you get to the point where it seems like it's going not so joyful anymore. That's where you can enjoy it more because you can see that you don't have to keep it. It's amazing. It's amazing. That's why I enjoy people so much. No matter what they're reflecting, most people are reflecting such sweetness to me. And they even are reflecting sweetness when they're calling for love, even though it doesn't look like that. But I enjoy every aspect of it, knowing that I don't have to keep anything that I don't want to keep. See, that's how the enjoyment it really is lived, right? You're not afraid that something's going to come up that you're not going to enjoy. It's just like shit. Oh, that happened. I'll enjoy that too. What if you go to jail? I'll enjoy that too, because it's a given. Because everything has the same. For me, everything has the same purpose, and I've got the same function in the midst of perceiving anything. So instead of asking when something seems to go wrong or there seems to be a problem, what happened here? What does this mean? You can so easily shift to, given what's true, what must be true here too? Right? That's deductive. That's the deductive practice Jesus is talking about. Given what's really true, then what must also be true here? And that applies to everything. Everyone seems to be doing good. Thank you. Thank you for being here. All right. We are going to paragraph 8, sentence 7. Yeah. Here's the text. If you can accept the one generalization now, so now he's calling it the one generalization. If you can accept the one generalization now, there will be no need to learn from many smaller lessons. Isn't that what we want to learn one lesson and not have to have many smaller lessons? That sounds good to me. So the one generalization, according to the footnote 32, the one generalization is the message of the resurrection. And that message is nothing can destroy truth. So he's saying, if you can accept, this is all about willingness. This is not about ability. Of course, you can accept it. Um, he's not saying if you can understand this perfectly. He's not saying if you've earned it or if you work through everything else first. Inductive reasoning. The world finally shows you that you're okay. He's saying if you can accept it. So the only requirement is willingness. So willingness determines whether you can. So it's still up to you whether you can accept it. If you can accept it, Jesus talks a lot about willingness in A Course in Miracles. And that's really what is going to prevent you from accepting the one generalization. What's going to prevent you from that? Right? It's a desire. Of course, you can do it, but you can't at the same time if you're not willing. So, the one generalization, he's saying, now it's defined more clearly, even more clearly with the footnote. So there's no ambiguity here that the one generalization is that nothing can destroy truth. This is the same point from the resurrection. Everything comes back to this. Nothing can destroy truth. And he uses the word now in there, doesn't he? Let's see. Now, oh yeah, he does in a big way. If you can accept the one generalization now, if you can accept the one generalization now, what's going to prevent you from accepting that? Willingness. Not more learning. The learning is for um, building willingness, let's say. Strengthening willingness might be another way to say it. It's like once your mind believes that it can accept, sort of like that. So if you can accept the one generalization now, there will be no need to learn from many smaller lessons. So now is immediate, not after years of learning. Who decides this? Who decides this? You. You decide, not Jesus. Jesus doesn't decide when you can accept something. That's you. So this is not after years of learning. And who decides whether you can accept the one generalization when? It's always now. It's always you doing that now. That's the atonement. It's you accepting the one generalization right now. Not after more learning, not after you go to ashram, not after you resolve all your issues, not after you can demonstrate to others that you've had enough spiritual progress, not after some guru fucking appoints you to be another guru. It's now, right now. It means nothing is actually preventing your acceptance of this. It's just resistance. And without that resistance, there's no need to learn from many smaller lessons, is what he says. Most of what we call learning is working through situations, figuring things out case by case, gaining insight gradually. Jesus is saying you don't need that. Not because it's wrong, it's still going to the same place. It's just taking a really long time. Still going to the same place. You're good. You're on the path. It's just taking you a really, really long time. And, Jesus channeled A Course in Miracles because he wanted to speed up the time it takes you to see the truth. It's just none of these processing things, you know, are inherently wrong. They're just not necessary. Once you accept the truth directly, you don't need all that stuff. And, you only need it because you believe it's helpful. And it is not going to show you anything, but you are going to come to know through your willingness. But every smaller lesson, see, he's talking about smaller lessons here. Every smaller lessons that he's saying you will have no need to learn from is trying to teach the same thing, that what's real has not been affected. So instead of learning, the truth applies here and here and here and here and here. It's just like you just apply it. Instead of I got to learn more so I could be better at this, you just keep on using the truth as a generalization that you apply to all specific circumstances. Truth applies everywhere. That's the acceptance. It applies everywhere. If there's any exceptions, you're not gonna feel whole and complete in it. And at first, there's gonna be exceptions, and so it's gonna seem like you have more learning to do, and you're gonna go through the motions of doing the learning so that your mind will accept what's true. But it's all you. So this collapses all complexity too. It simplifies the lesson. Instead of asking, what does this situation mean? It's like, and asking like, how do I heal this specific issue? You just return to nothing can destroy the truth. So what's true here, right? So then things don't need to be analyzed in the same way. The truth is true. You can see patterns, you can recognize patterns and go, oh, that's how I play into that kind of pattern. Okay. Oh, I see that. I recognize that now. Okay. Cool. Well, that's fun. That means it's more fun for me. That's not, you can say that's not learning anything, recognizing a pattern. That's discovering something. That's discovering how you can be released from something that's been limiting the amount of joy you can experience. That's discovery. That's how I look at it. The learning is like up to this point where it's like, okay, the learning is done. Once you're generalizing everything on the foundation of truth, since you're generalizing everything, then the learning is done. Now it's discovery. So the ego, of course, is going to be resistant to this sentence. The ego loves processing and stories, identities built on experience, right? Propping up the identity, gradual self-improvement, right? So this removes that structure. Man, I don't need another lifetime. It's right now. It's on. It's on right now. So what if you don't need to learn through your experiences anymore? You know, because one truth answers all of them. What if you don't need that? What if you don't need one more lesson? If you don't need any more lessons. Like I said, it's kind of like you're just discovering what you can be released from right now that's limiting your joy. It's not the same as learning. You already learned what you needed to do, what you needed, how to see things. Let's go back to the one great sentence here. Which one is it? You are released from all errors if you believe this, right? And then he talks about the generalization that you apply to all circumstances, all single instances. One answer to all your problems, right? All right. Let's go to the next paragraph then. Are you guys ready for another paragraph? Woohoo! All right. I don't know how far we'll get in this paragraph, but let's go because it is just juicy. I'm loving it. Paragraph 9, sentence 1. Nothing can prevail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. Now, the footnote here is quoting Matthew 16:18 from the King James Version of the Bible. And here's the quote that this is referencing to. And I say unto thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. End quote. And then Luke 23:46 from the King James Version. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Still in the footnote, that was the end of the quote from the Bible. By alluding to his purported last words on the cross, Jesus is implying that the next sentence is what happened to him at this point. His mind awakened from its sleep and remembered its creator. However, by using general language, in parentheses, quote, a son of God who commends his spirit, end quote, end parentheses, he is implying that commending our spirit into the hands of God is something all of us, not just Jesus, can do now, rather than waiting to do so at the moment of death. And that completes the footnote. Commending your spirit into the hands of God rather than waiting for the moment of death. The ego would have you waiting for the moment of death, wouldn't it? That's where you're going to get your rest. Right now, you need to run around a bunch. And once you're 6 feet under, then you get some rest. So this line, Jesus's line again, nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. So this line is absolute, and it's meant to be absolute. It's saying nothing can prevail, not fear, not attack, not body issues, not the world, not even death, not even death. But notice what the condition is, okay? Well, notice what the condition is, this absoluteness. The condition is a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. So this is not about protection in form. This is about identity. This is your identity. To commend your spirit is to release self-authorship or self-authority, right? Self-identified. It's to stop holding yourself as the doer. This is what commending your spirit means. Stop holding yourself as the doer. Stop holding yourself as the protector. Stop holding yourself as the one responsible for outcomes. Place your mind under God. This is what it means to commend your spirit into the hands of the Father. This is not a ritual. It's a decision. You're deciding. You're not this thing that you made that's fearful, that's angry, whatever it is. Commend your spirit into the hands of the Father. You're not this world. You did not, you're not this world, what this world is saying that you are. So this isn't describing something special that he did that only he can do. He's saying, this is why nothing could touch me. Not because the body wasn't attacked. It was. It was attacked in the fucking dream. But look at, this is death we're talking about, right? And he demonstrated it had no effects. Death is supposed to be final. He demonstrated that has no effect. So he didn't really die since it wasn't really final. So it's like Jesus was not locating himself in the body at all. That's what commending your spirit to the Father is. It's like you're not locating yourself in the body. He's released identification with form. He's remembered his source. He's fully resting in God. And that's what you can do now. So from that state, nothing can prevail. Nothing that denies innocence and truth can prevail. Death cannot prevail. There's absolutely nothing to attack there. So most people would read this as if I surrender to God, he will protect me. But that's a churchy interpretation, isn't it? And when they talk about commending their spirit to God, they think of it like that, like to protect me in form. Maybe take care of my enemies. I heard that one today. He's going to punish your enemies. So this is deeper. When I no longer believe I'm a separate self, there's nothing that can be threatened. This is what commending your spirit to the Father is. You can call it the mother too, in case you want to. That's totally fine. It's the same meaning. So Jesus isn't saying wait until your last breath to commend your spirit. He's saying do this now. Apply it. This is how you apply it if you want to be miracle minded. You feel this directly. There's a moment where you just stop trying to manage the situation. You stop attempting to be understood. You stop trying to control any outcomes. And then it's kind of like there's a quiet, I place this in your hands. It's not really as words, it's more like a release of the ownership over the situation, like that. Like you know what outcome you need. So this sentence, let's look at it one more time. Sentence 1 of paragraph 9. Nothing can prevail against a son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. Nothing can prevail against him. So fear is going to say, I have to handle this, or else something is going to go wrong. This is saying, I'm not the one in charge. I love at the end of the lessons in A Course in Miracles, it says, be you in charge. I would follow you. Yeah. I would follow you. And that's where your invulnerability returns. So you can say putting God or the Holy Spirit or Jesus in charge or someone else. It doesn't matter as long as you're recognizing this as a higher form of your mind. Okay? Of putting that in charge and having that have holding that generalization for you, you're always going to be shown. You're always going to be shown how to surrender to what's true and be blessed in all of your interactions, relatings, and experiences. Okay, we're going to paragraph 9, sentence 2. But first, I'm going to get a little water break. And I seem to be a little chilled at this point. All right. Yay. Everyone is doing good. All right. We're getting going on sentence 2 of paragraph 9, chapter 3, section 3. Quote, by doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. By doing this, that's referring directly back to the last sentence, commending the spirit into the hands of the Father, which we just went over. So awakening isn't framed as something that you do with your body or something that gets accomplished by you. It's something or something that you get when you die. See, that's the common Christian way of looking at it, probably Catholic too, um, is that you get your salvation when you die. Your spirit gets commended to the Father when you die. But it's really what happens when your mind stops trying to hold itself apart from the spirit. The mind awakens from its sleep, is what he says. By doing this, commending your spirit into the hands of the Father, this is what Jesus did. See, the last sentence, let's read it again so you can see he's talking about himself here. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of the Father. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. That's what he did. And what he's teaching is that that's what you are going to do too. And that you can do it now if you're willing. So the mind awakens from its sleep. Sleep means the dream of separation here. The mind that has been apparently destroyed. The mind that apparently became sinful. The mind that apparently left God. The mind awakens from this. It's only fallen asleep That's why it thinks that. So awakening isn't becoming a new being, it's remembering your being. It's remembering your creator. Jesus is using remembering again, and he used that earlier on when he said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And he was saying how when you remember something, you're recalling something from the past and applying it in the present. Something to that effect. So in here, this is not about the past because it's remembering the creator. That's now. When he was saying, do this in remembrance of me, you're remembering him working miracles and doing that like him. You're recalling something from the past and applying it. That's why he's saying you do that in time, right? You do that in time. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. And that's the return. It's not going back to a place. It's not a reward after death. That remembrance of the creator is the mind remembering God as the source. And once the mind remembers its creator, it remembers itself. Because Jesus is, as Jesus has said before, or maybe not before, maybe later in the text, I'm not sure where it is, but the Son cannot be understood apart from the Father. The Son is just not understandable apart from the Father. So this sentence is making your surrender, your acceptance of your true identity, immediate and practical. When I place my spirit in God's hands, I'm not authoring myself anymore. I don't want to be the author of myself. I want to be made helpful because that's my perfect happiness. I want to be working miracles. And when I stop authoring myself, that's when I remember God created me perfect and holy. This is what awakening is. Remembering creator. Remembering your identity in the creator. And that's what happened with Jesus. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. And that gives us everything we want. That really gives us everything we want. We don't want any kind of special gifts from this illusion as a substitute for what God gives. We don't want any of that. I have no idea what you're saying, Glenn, about eggs, unless that's like a typo or something. That's fun. I'll check on you in a minute, though. In case you're clarifying. All right, let's go to sentence 3 of paragraph 9. This is chapter 3, section 3, paragraph 9, sentence 3. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. So this is the result, what he's saying right here. The disappearance of separation and level confusion. This is the result. When the mind commends its spirit to God, awakens from sleep, and remembers its creator, something very specific happens. This is what we can sense. All sense of separation disappears. Not separation's reduced, not it's managed, not it's more peaceful. It just disappears. Disappears. Because separation was never an actual condition. It was a misperception. And when your mind isn't authoring itself, there's nothing left for maintaining that illusion. The illusion of separation, there's nothing left for maintaining that misperception. And look at what does sense of separation really mean? All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. I say sense of separation a lot. I didn't even realize I got it from here. I probably got it from the sentence. All sense of separation disappears. Yay. So, what is sense of separation? What does it really mean? It's not just I feel separate from God. It shows up like this. I am this body. Now this body has a symptom that I need to worry about. I'm different from you. Like thinking that our private thoughts, our worldly thoughts make us different. They don't. We're all the same. We're all the same. All right. And that includes anyone. I use President Trump because I freaking love that one because a lot of my friends get all when they hear that name. Um, but yeah, you're not different from anyone, right? It shows up, this sense of separation shows up as making other people different, making other people causing threats to you or to other people. It shows up as I have my own private thoughts. Now, the reason you don't have your own private thoughts is not because everyone can hear them. It's because you're not alone in experiencing the effects that you make that are not real effects. Isn't that fun? That's why they can be undone. It also shows up as something is missing or I need something outside of myself. It shows up as longing. It shows up as loneliness, shows up as fear, dread, anxiety. That's the sense of separation. All of it's one thing. It's a sense, it's saying one thing to you. It's a sense that you're on your own. And this is saying that structure collapses when the mind remembers God. Completely collapses. That sense of you being on your own, that sense of separation, gone. You feel the unity in the moment. That sense of when the sense of separation collapses, you know what sense is left? The sense of unity. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. So level confusion vanishes. Now this is level confusion is very precise A Course in Miracles language. Level confusion means mixing up mind and body, cause and effect, truth and illusion. It's as if truth can as if truth can be destroyed by illusion or illusion can act on truth. It's as if effect could have an effect on the cause. This is the level confusion. And if this confuses you right now hearing this, you can go back to the level confusion section. It's in chapter 2. I also did a deep dive on that. If you want to follow along, you can go back in the podcast, look for Hope Johnson Wisdom, and my ACIM deep dives are back there. I started them back in February 2025. Go back to there. Start with lesson 1. You'll get through level confusion and see what that is too. If you even need to. You know, in this particular deep dive, Jesus is saying, if you just accept the atonement, accept that that's the truth, if you generalize everything with the truth, you don't need to learn anymore. You can do it for fun. Maybe you're interested in it and you want to teach it, you know? It's awesome. So level confusion, that's the belief that the body can feel, know, or decide anything. What's one example? Another one is that the world can affect the mind, that form has power over content. So when the mind awakens, this confusion isn't possible at all because it just becomes obvious to you. The mind is the only cause. My mind is the only thing causing anything. And this body, this isn't me. Nothing of the form has any kind of power whatsoever. I'm just giving it whatever power I'm giving to it, and then I'm perceiving the effects of that. So experientially, there's a clarity that comes in. Not as a concept, just an undeniable knowing. You're not inside of this body. Nothing out in the world is doing anything to you. There's no other to be defending against. And that's how all the conflict in your life loses its foundation. So this isn't this sentence, let's look at it again. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. This is not a gradual process he's describing. He's describing a shift in identification. When the mind remembers God, separation is seen as unreal, confusion cannot be sustained because both of them depend on forgetting what's true. That's why you're remembering your creator. Now those things cannot stand. So the way this paragraph's been moving, nothing can prevail against the truth. The mind awakens and remembers, and separation and confusion vanish. So does anyone have any questions about that before we move on to sentence 4? Oh, Christine, I see you. What is the one answer to all of my problems? I just came on. Oh, you're so awesome. I was seeing that like 20 minutes ago. Did we answer that for you by this point? You guys, I love you. Thank you for giving me your comments. I don't see the Q and A's like I see the chat. It just doesn't give me a reminder. No. Okay. So the one answer to all of your problems is that nothing can affect the truth. You're the truth. Nothing can affect the truth. It's completely untouched. It can withstand all errors. And by withstand, that doesn't mean fight. It just means that it doesn't have to do anything. The truth doesn't have to do anything. It's just the truth. So, and we went over to Christine. I don't know if you missed this part. I'm just going to go back to this part because I think it's really freaking awesome. You are released from all errors if you believe in this. That's sentence 5 of paragraph 8. And what is this? This is the resurrection. The resurrection demonstrated that nothing can destroy truth. That's where nothing can destroy truth comes in. This is the answer to all of your problems because you're released from all errors if you believe in this. That's what we've been going over. That was sentence 8 or paragraph 8, and now we're on paragraph 9. Okay. And we're on paragraph 9. We're going into sentence 4 now. Okay. Yay. I'm glad you're on the page with us, Christine. I love you. Sentence 4. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but not, oh, no, that's not what it says. Let me try again. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. So now the separation has disappeared. You know, we're talking about separation disappearing. And now the separation has disappeared in this sentence completely. The Trinity itself is one. So now that separation disappeared, Jesus is clarifying what actually is here, the Trinity. But he's correcting how it's usually understood. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity. This is affirming your inclusion. You are not outside of God. You are not separate from God. You are not an observer of God's divinity. You are in it. You're not a fragment. You're not less. You are one aspect of the one reality. He says, but the Trinity itself is one. So this is correcting a common misinterpretation, isn't it? The ego hears Trinity and thinks three separate entities, a hierarchy, parts that relate to each other, don't have any relation to you. But Jesus is saying these aren't three things, there's only one. So, what this means in A Course in Miracles term, God is the creator, the Son is creation. That's you, that's all your brothers and sisters. And then the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the bridge or the voice for God in A Course in Miracles framing. So these aren't separate beings interacting. And one of them's you, remember? One of them's you. You're the Son. God, the Son, the Holy Spirit. They're one unified reality, experienced differently depending on perception. When the mind's asleep, it experiences differences, it experiences levels. It believes in separation. When the mind's awake, there's just unity. And see, this comes after separation disappears, because as long as you believe in separation, you'll misunderstand God and think of him as separate. Think of him as a him. You know, we're just using him symbolically. You can say her, it's the same, right? Is thinking of him separate at all. You imagine God's outside of you, or you imagine the Son is Jesus and he's apart from you. You imagine a spirit moving between them and that's got nothing to do with you. But once that separation is gone, it's totally obvious. There's no distance to bridge here. There's no parts to reconcile here. There's nothing of a hierarchy here even. There's just oneness. You know, this breaking up into parts, even calling it a trinity, is just to help awaken. So this sentence is undoing one of the deepest spiritual assumptions, that you're a part trying to return to the whole. Instead, it's revealing you're included in this. You've never been divided. This is beautiful. So this paragraph so far, beginning with invulnerability, right? Nothing can prevail against the Son of God. That's you, who commends his spirit into the hands of the Father. That's giving the Creator authorship, right? And then it moves through awakening. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its Creator. And then we're undoing separation. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. And then sentence 4, unity. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. Really sweet. All right, are my sweet peeps? I love you too. Thank you. Are my sweet peeps ready for the next sentence? I don't see any questions or hands, so here we go. Sentence 5. There is no confusion within its, that's with the capital I, within its levels, because they are of one mind, which with a capital M, and one will. The will is lowercase. There is no confusion within its, that's the Trinity. There's no confusion within the Trinity's levels because they are of one mind and one will. So this line is correcting level confusion. It's completing this level confusion from before. There is no confusion within its levels. Now, from the perspective of the truth. Earlier, we're seeing how level confusion vanishes when the mind awakens, right? This is the level confusion of the ego. Now, Jesus is saying it doesn't just vanish for you, it never existed in God. The confusion was not out there, it was never reality. It was only a sleeping mind. It was your sleeping mind. So there is no confusion within the Trinity's levels because they are of one mind and one will. So what levels means here can sound kind of tricky because the Course is talking about there are no levels in truth. So why use this word here, the word levels, as a teaching device? Because it's referring to God, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. What appears from a sleeping perspective is different aspects. It's different in a sleeping perspective, it's different aspects. So there's no levels in truth, yet he's saying, he said many times, there's no really levels in truth. There is no confusion within its levels, within the Trinity's levels, because they are of one mind and one will. So that's why there's no confusion because there's one. They're the same. The levels that are being presented are strictly for healing. There's not really levels. So what appears from a sleeping perspective as different aspects is really all one. That's what Jesus wants you to know about that. Because they are of one mind and one will. So even if we speak of levels, they're not separate. They don't have different intentions. That's God, Holy Spirit, Son of God, you. Look at this. This is where innocence comes from too. They don't have different intentions. You're one with this. They don't have different intentions. They don't have different awareness. They don't have different purposes. It's all one. So there's one mind and one will. This is totally undoing the ego's structure of dependency. That there are many minds with competing wills in a world of conflicting interests, which is the root of all fear and conflict and negotiation and being defensive. This sentence just says that is not reality. In truth, there's just no opposition. No one's got conflicting agendas. There's no separate centers of consciousness. It's just one. So when this begins to register, you stop relating with me versus you, us versus them, my will and their will. What do I need to protect or to get something? And it just softens for you. And, oh, there's only one movement here. Oh, you know, appreciate what's given. What's given is so that you can serve your function, so that you can collapse time. The more you appreciate what's given, the more you're given to see. It's just one mind expressing. That's all there is. One mind expressing. Even in the illusion, it's still one mind expressing. And it's like there's two thought systems in this mind. You can choose which one you want. Everyone's choosing which one they want. A lot of people, most people aren't realizing that they even have a choice. So the idea of levels is getting dissolved here, really, because if everything shares one mind and one will, then there's not really levels at all. There's just one, appearing as many until the mind completely wakes up. So there's no separation, no conflicting wills, no real distinctions, only perfect coherence in God. All right, let's see where we are in the text now. Oh, we have one sentence left. So I'm just going to run over just a little bit so I can get to this last sentence so we don't leave one sentence just dangling out there for next week, which who knows may not even come. So let's see if you guys have any questions too. Yay. Everyone looks good. All right. Sentence 6. This single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the reign of the peace of God. That's REIGN, not RAIN, in case you were wondering. So the last sentence, there is no confusion within its, that's the Trinity's, levels, because they are of one mind and one will. This single purpose, that's the Trinity with one mind and one will, this single purpose creates perfect integration and establishes the reign of the peace of God. So this single purpose, that's referring directly to what we just saw. One mind, one will. Not many purposes, not purposes trying to coordinate with each other, not competing desires being managed, not competing needs being managed. Just one unified intention. One mind, one will. And that's what Jesus is saying creates perfect integration. Those are his words, creates perfect integration. So integration does not mean bringing broken parts together. It means nothing is split to begin with. The ego's world is totally built on things being split, fragmented, different selves, different goals, different needs, different paths. So it tries to integrate by managing complexity. You see that? That's all ego. That's why we have a bunch of laws. It's to try to manage these differences that do not exist. This is saying that wholeness was never divided. Your wholeness was not divided because there's only one will. So there's nothing to reconcile. We don't need like a record of errors to reconcile that. This is meant to and can, if you are willing, totally release you from inner conflict. Any kind of indecision, any kind of pulling, getting pulled, feeling pulled in different directions. All of that comes from you believing that you have multiple purposes. You only have one purpose. It's collapsing time in this dream. You could say it's extending love. In eternity, it's basically extending love. That's the way you create. You extend love. In a dream, extending love looks like forgiveness. Part of the mind wants one thing, another part wants something else. That's the split. But this is saying there's only one purpose. In creation, like I said, that's extending love. And that's what we do here when we overlook illusions. when we recognize that nothing real can be threatened. That's extending love in this dream. There's only one purpose. And Jesus is saying when that's accepted, the experience is perfect integration. Let me go back to the text so I get a verbatim for you guys. This single purpose creates perfect integration. Single purpose. And establishes the reign of the peace of God. So that establishing the reign of the peace of God, that's the effect. See, this single purpose creates perfect integration. The single purpose, one mind, one will, the Holy Trinity, and it establishes the reign of the peace of God. So establishing the reign of the peace of God, that's the effect of this integration. Peace isn't something that you create. It's what naturally reigns, REIGNS, when there's no conflict. When you don't believe in opposing will, when you don't believe in fragmentation. This reign implies governing everything. This is not occasional peace. This is not just moments of stillness. This is it's referencing a stable and uninterrupted condition of your mind. A reign of perfect peace. One more time. This single purpose, being of one mind and one will, creates perfect integration and establishes the reign of the peace of God. So when you stop trying to get something, avoid something, figure something out, and just rest in this, there's only one purpose here, and I'm willing to let it be shown to me. If you're not aware of it, let's say something's upsetting, you're not aware of the one purpose, I'm willing to let it be shown to me. So this is settling into truth. This is not passive. This is deeply aligned. This is wisdom. This is the eye of, of true identity that wants this. This is not the ego that wants this. So some key insights here. Peace isn't achieved by solving problems. It's only revealed to you. And when your belief in us having multiple purposes and multiple interests is undone, because one will, one mind, one purpose equals no conflict, right? And when you don't have any conflict, that's because peace is already established in you. So we went from surrender, awakening, unity, and now we're at perfect integration, just resting in peace. Nothing can prevail against the Son of God who commends his spirit into the hands of his Father. That's invulnerability. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. That's the effect, right? By doing this, awakening, commending your spirit into the hands of the Father. What was that again? It's commending your spirit into the hands of the Father. It's like giving all authorship to creator, commending your spirit. All sense of separation disappears and level confusion vanishes. An effect, that's another effect. It's like, oh, I skipped sentence 2, I think. By doing this, the mind awakens from its sleep and remembers its creator. Yeah. The Son of God is part of the Holy Trinity, but the Trinity itself is one. There is no confusion within its levels because they are of one mind and one will. So level confusion applies to taking this level, the Holy Trinity, and confusing it with the level of perception. This single purpose, being of one mind and one will, creates perfect integration and establishes the reign of the peace of God. And that concludes our lovely ACIM deep dive for today. I'm so glad you joined. I think I'll be back next week. Yes, I plan to be back next week. I'm not so sure about the week after that because I'm traveling to Hawaii. Yay! I'm going to be arriving there on May 14th, and the plan is it looks like I'm going to be there for 4 months. And at this point in September, middle of September, it looks like I'm either going to Sri Lanka, India, or Florida. Some different developments have come up. We'll see what happens. And I'll be back on Sunday for Wisdom Dialogues. In the meantime, feel free to visit my website, hopejohnson.org. I've got a book on there. It's called Unschooling for Parents. It's a great book for anyone, super easy to read, and it has a lot of these principles that I share on these ACIM deep dive. It details what I was going through as a parent who was awakening to the truth, uh, going through it with young children. So it's a fun book, and I'm working on another book. I should have that pretty soon. I think it will be by the time I leave Hawaii in September. I will have the big book of hope ready. I think. I don't know for sure, but that's just kind of what it seems. Also, I'm completely supported by donations. If you feel like donated, thank you to you guys who have donated and who do donate, and also for setting up those monthly donation. That's really sweet. That could be done on my website. I also take one-to-ones if you want to book a one-to-one with me. That's also on my website. And I updated my website a little bit. So when you get to the front page, right underneath the main banner, it's going to have all the links because I'm sharing so much on so many different platforms. It's going to have all the links to get you over to whatever it is, whatever in whatever way you like to receive what I share. I share it on a lot of different platforms. It's all right there now on the front page. I went in there and asked the AI how I could make it awesome and worked with him. I call my AI him for I don't know, maybe a couple of hours, and I'm stoked with it. So let me know what you think, and if you see anything on there that you're like, oh, it could be a little bit better like this. I love it. I love that kind of feedback. It's really fun. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Aw, thanks. Oh, kisses to you too. You really want me on Audible? Okay, I hear you. I definitely hear you. Okay, do you want my book on Audible? The book Unschooling for Parents? Because I think it's way easier to do that now. Pretty sure they have software that gets the background noise out. What was happening before is I actually recorded all of Unschooling for Parents, and I did not like the quality. I was like, no, that's not going up. I'm just going to wait. So I think at this point, really, all I need to do is sit down and record it. So it's just a matter of time. Yay. Audible has the same thing, has a time thing where you can put 30 plus minutes and it will end when you fall asleep. I know. Isn't that so cool? I love that about Audible too. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Glenn. I love you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, I feel it. I know it is so powerful. And it just keeps on getting more so, especially as our minds awaken together and we see it more and more. It's just like, wow. I love our weekly meetings. It really seems to keep the mind on track and it's just so loving. It's so nice to join in this community. So thanks, you guys. Until next time, yay, everyone. Mahalo, aloha, and a hui ho. Woo!